Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Flight Path on this first Friday in April. We are so excited that you are joining us. If this is the first Flight Path that you've listened to, you have found yourself in the exact right part of the internet to get all the updates on what Tern has done over the past week and what is coming up. So if you're a Tern user, or maybe you're thinking about becoming a Tern user, we think this is the best 30 minutes that you can spend to really move your business forward, really make sure you're maximizing the technology. My name's David, CEO and co-founder, joined as always by my two incredible co-hosts, Brad, who leads up all the design for Tern, and Molly, who leads up the product element for Tern. And we've got a great show for you, as always. Before we check in and just kind of hear how people's weeks were, I want to remind everybody, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. If you leave us a comment, we do see them. Even we're trying to get better at responding to the comments, but we do see them. We do kind of process them. So thank you for those that left one. I had a great conversation with Brandon about the comments he's been leaving in Vegas, which we'll get to in a minute. But Brad, how was your week before we get into everything?
My week's great. Over in this corner of the internet, we're doing really well. Love the new intro. It's actually been a really energizing week for me. You know, we talked about a little bit, but like we're starting to hire and grow the team. We're bringing on another designer, so I've been like had a few interviews with folks this week who've worked in the travel space, worked in like a bunch of relevant kind of tangential areas to what we want to do going forward, and it's been super cool just to like get to share more about why I love Tern, why Tern is like an incredible place to work, and why our community of advisors is like the coolest people to build for. So that's really been like my highlight of the week. I know we talk about all the time in this podcast, but like it helps a lot with recruiting too, when you can just rave about like the work you get to do and why the community is so incredible. So that's really like been my highlight, my favorite part of the week.
I love that. It is fun. I feel like when you're like talking to people, who are making a pretty big decision, like on their career, like, do you want to switch? Like when you actually can share just like the love and the passion that people have for the business. I'll definitely include more of that in my kind of weekly update. But yeah, it is really special. Molly, how's your week been? You feeling energized this week?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool week. We got to launch, we'll talk about this later. We got to launch destination guides. And it was one of those features, as we talked about on this podcast, the AI features that we build, they're very experimental. We don't know what will work well, what won't. And it was one of those things that like I started playing around with destination guides. We were like, oh, will it be that cool? Like people already kind of have this content that they have today in other systems, etc. And playing around with this on our testing environment, I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. And then it was just incredible to see the reaction of launching it. And I was like obsessively refreshing Facebook like 50 times a day, just like looking at the feedback, looking at things we could improve. So that was just like kind of the highlight of my week is launching it and seeing the reaction and how creative people are getting so far with it. And then we're also coming off of a team. We have a recurring team meeting every Friday called Coffee and Conversations. And I was legitimately cry laughing the entire time. And like, I'm still putting myself together. So like, I'm very frazzled right now because it was just like a riot for some reason this week. I don't know why, but I'm just like still coming down from that, honestly.
And like, I'm going to try, we'll see here if this works, but just one of the things that we learned in this kind of coffee and conversation experience was just how important it is to have your settings correct for ChatGPT. So Brooklyn on our team, who many of you know, the question was like, what's one skill that you wish you could have? Like if you could learn one skill overnight, like what would you? And she was trying to create this graphic of like, I would be a polyglot. Like I'd love to be able to speak like all the languages. And so she asked our Turn GPT to make her this graphic. And, there's all the news that's come out this week, right? Of like, here's the, ChatGPT, like massive leap forward in image generation, like super accurate, hyper realistic. And this is all she could get it to do. So she shows this, and we're all just dying. Like, is this like MS Paint for AI? And it turns out that in the custom GPTs that you can make, you can turn on or off the image generation, and we had turned it off. So all it was making is these diagrams. And so once we got it to actually work, we got something that was much better. So this is the pro tip: is if you're getting weird image results, you got to turn it on. So that was literally, probably the funniest thing that maybe has like ever happened. It was just so good. So yeah, no, that was a highlight for sure. And hopefully Brooklyn doesn't care that I just shared that. But You can see
We're gonna
it was
lose
pretty fun.
Molly again. We're not gonna
I
be able to make it to the podcast.
I swear there were moments where I was literally like tears streaming down. It was too much. It was actually too much. We need to move on. We need to
we need to move on. But speaking of culture, like, come work for Tern, right? It's a fun place to be. All right, we've got a lot to cover in the show, so I'll give kind of a quick update. I am just definitely dragging a little bit. It's been such a good week and so kind of mentally energizing, but also physically exhausting. I think we shared last week that we were going to the Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum, and this is our third time that we've been there. It's always been one of the kind of best events of the year, just because you've got a lot of advisors, got a lot of agency owners who are sort of at a point in their business where they're trying to like take it to the next step. And so we had a opportunity. We hosted kind of a little gathering and with a bunch of users, and it was just so fun. I was kind of reflecting with Dylan and Ellen, who came with, just like I've never worked in a place where so many people come up and say like Turn has like literally changed my life and like changed my business. And in technology, like there's just not that many things that really have that much of an impact. And it was just so cool to hear story after story about kind of like how Turn has helped people make the leap. We got to spend a lot of time with Chloe, which was so fun, and just seeing so many users. And it was just such a stark contrast to literally the kind of 2 years ago, three Las Vegas travel agent forums ago, where like we knew nobody, we didn't have a product, we were basically demoing like Figma mockups, and to now be able to demo the full advisor stack, to be able to demo the agency back office to agency owners. Like it was a really cool milestone from that perspective. But we also got to kind of get up on stage. And I think the City Guys, which we'll show here in a minute, literally launched like 95 minutes before we went up on stage to kind of reveal, kind of our vision for the future of AI and do a demo in front of probably 200 people. And that was just such a cool experience to be able to be like, let me show you in real time how AI is going to change the future of content for your business and really start to change the way that your workflow works. So that was really cool. Got to catch up with just so many friends of Turn and so many supporters, and it's just a really kind of big week. And then flew to a host agency right after that, so on site. And again, just like so much opportunity to make the kind of back office for agencies better. And I think if you're an advisor listening to this, one of the things I always say is like, it's easy to be like, oh, like I don't really care about my host agency back office, right? But what you don't see until you start to dig in is that because of the inefficiencies that these teams have to go through, like it actually impacts payroll, right? Like they talk about how these other systems will have bugs and they'll have processing errors where like it can actually result in people just like not getting paid or getting paid the wrong amounts or getting paid 6 weeks after they could have, because it just takes so much manual effort to actually reconcile these payments and use so many systems. And so you're kind of walking away from that and seeing like how close we're getting to really having something that is like truly transformational. And it was it's just really cool because you can kind of just see, right? I think by the end of this year, like Turn will really be able to make a massive, massive difference in the back office of agencies of all shapes and sizes. If you're a small, medium-sized agency, I think we're the best out there for you today. If you're doing 1,000 booking, kind of reconciliations a day, like we've got some work to do to really support that, but like we're getting close and it's going to be really fun. So it's been a really energizing week, but I think the dry air and the exhaustion and the jet lag has definitely caught up with me. So I'm like a little brain foggy, a little sick, but feeling really good. So let's move on to what we shipped this week, because it's been pretty good. We talked a little bit about City Guides already, but I think this is just transformational. So Molly, do you want to kind of talk about what that feature is and how it works? Maybe do a little bit of demo and kind of take the people through it.
I would love to. So, just to set the stage a little bit, when we typically hear about destination guides, a lot of it is kind of this content that's been written out, that is kind of necessarily fairly generic to a given place, right? It has like dining options, it has sections on activities, it has sections on museums and all this sort of thing. But because it's kind of the same every time, it has to be fairly generic, just to the destination itself. So when we thought about rethinking destination guides and how we can do this really well, we thought it could be a really cool use case for AI. And so I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to do this. There we go. I'm not a big demo on the podcast person, but we're going to do it. So here I'm on a trip, and you'll notice a few things. There's a port in Istanbul, and it's in August. So just keep those things in mind. You can click this button here, or it works with any info block, and either soon or already with port info blocks too. So you'll notice this new little draft a destination guide option. And there's a few things that are kind of worth calling out here. The first is that we already know kind of the context of the trip. So again, we know that this is in August. And you can add really whatever you want into this box. So imagine you put in, I want to port a guide for Istanbul. Travelers are really into history and museums, and there's a specific, restaurant that you've actually personally been to, or someone has, that you really want to make sure goes into those destinations. So if you generate this, instead of the typical more generic guide, you'll notice that it's able to truly personalize to the specific trip and to the travelers and to what you tell it, which is like pretty magical. And that's kind of part of the reason when we were playing around with this testing, we got so excited, just because it feels very much like a different experience than your average destination guide. So you'll see, in August, Istanbul is warm and lively. Like, that's pretty awesome. Let's make sure, it called out the dining that I wanted, and the experiences and kind of highlights, and even the title it gives it is, again, tailored to those traveler interests, which is pretty epic. I will do one more thing. Oh, go ahead, David.
Well, I was just gonna because you sort of highlighted it, but I mean how many times have you sent your clients a city guide, and it's like, the best time to visit is in March, and they're like, well, I'm going in August. Like, is that like, should I not be going here? Right? Like, I mean, this is like all the time. It's because, like, that's the problem with generic content. And so, it's easy to skip over. Like, instead of being like, here's all the climates of the entire year, which doesn't matter because you're going in August. It's like, let's talk about what it's like in August and what you can expect, right? It's like way more helpful. And so we've been pushing back on city guides and like the standard approach of like integrating this plug and play content for probably 18 months now, because we knew that this was going to be the direction that we think is really the future of being able to combine that context about your travelers, about the trip, about the details that as an expert, and curating that all in together. That's something that like every trip you're sending people on has this like highly personalized content.
Yeah, very well said. The other thing I just wanted to call out here is, to get this formatting really nice, it was actually a lot of engineering work. So shout out to the Eng team, because we didn't previously support this type of really nice formatting with AI generated content. And this will be applicable anywhere you create content with AI in the coming weeks. So that's also really exciting. And then the other thing I wanted to call out, that I don't think anyone's actually discovered yet, but like, you can get really creative. So write it like you are a pirate, and let's just see if this works. I haven't done it with this particular prompt, but like, you can really kind of experiment with whatever you want to make things fun. And the last time I did this, it was absolutely hilarious. I'm not sure if it will be the second time. But there's you can really get creative here, I would say.
And while this Oh, go ahead, Brad.
I was gonna say, it's just like, maybe your brand voice isn't pirate voice, but if you throw in a few words of like, this is how my brand normally sounds, like add that in there, it'll tailor it, that way also, in addition to maybe being pirate-esque. What are we not, Molly?
Straight, like, what? This is just so funny.
Ahoy, hungry traveler, right? Like,
bargain like pirate, haggling. I mean, just pretty fun. So little Easter egg for those folks who are podcast listeners.
But it does. I mean, Brad, to your point, right? It starts to show, one of the things we talked about is like kind of the future here is like, how do we help automatically or allow advisors to provide context on their brand voice, and how do we automatically feed that in as context so that if it's not pirate, right, it is like, it's luxury, or maybe it's approachable, or maybe it's family, or it's fun. And like, but you can imagine, like, if you've got a group traveling with kids, like maybe they're going to like the Royal Caribbean ride or the Pirates of the Caribbean, like one theme park or something, like this actually could be really fun, right? Like, so there are cool things that you can start to do with this to really personalize it. So I was really struck. I was like, there's got to be some use case for pirates.
We really wanted luxury pirate, but like, look at
luxury pirate. I'm sure there's something there. There's a niche for everybody. But yeah, I mean, this is just so fun, and we actually kind of an update. I don't know if it's been turned on yet or it will be soon. But like these city guides are using a model. We're actually going to be even investing more heavily in even smarter models. Like you'll start to see these continue to improve. Like it's going to be.
You're spoiling. You're spoiling
I'm
my next section.
spoiling.
It's
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, my bad. I'll stop talking now. Molly, back over to you. Anything else you want to share?
No, just the last thing. I think we're really close to feedback and the types of inputs people are doing here. So we'll talk about it a little bit later. Some improvements that we're going to make that David hasn't fully spoiled yet. But just it's just been really cool to see how creative advisors are already getting and the types of asks that they're making that are beyond anything we even imagined people would use this for. So yeah, share examples in the Facebook community too of like creative ways you're using this that's working well. Let us know what's not working well that we can improve. It is a beta feature and it is something that we're actively trying to improve over time. So let us know what you think and share examples with each other too.
And maybe just one thing for, especially for podcast listeners, you're all pros in this area, but just remember that the like AI recommendations can be wrong, especially for like timely things. Like it's potentially possible that a restaurant it's recommending was open a few years ago when it last understood what was open in the world, and like now that could be closed. So like just make sure you review and edit out anything that like you'd want to make sure your travelers don't see because it might be incorrect.
Plus,
Yeah,
plus.
cool. So much more. This is gonna be a theme, moving forward, right? Just like all the kind of different AI things, and I think like that, your magic moment, right, that Molly described. I think we hope you all have, right, as you start to see how this can help you deliver a really personalized experience for your clients. But it's not the only thing we've been doing this week. We've also been working on another really important part of the product, which has been a theme for the past couple of weeks. We've got, will be at least for one more week. Brad, you want to talk about some of the updates we've been making around forms?
Yeah, totally. So we've been spending a ton of time this week basically helping streamline forms. So we've talked about it in the past. Today, every form starts with the same kind of cover page with responder details on it, asking like, tell us about yourself, who's filling out this form? We recognize that often you like, okay, but the responder is the person who's going to be filling out the contact details or the traveler details. Do I really need to have this in here twice? The answer next week will be no. We're almost there. We're really close. So we're not going to do like a demo yet, but next Friday we'll demo that whole thing, and that should be coming very soon. And I was testing it out earlier, and I was like, wow, this just feels like a completely different product when your form, like, when it just feels like a one-page form versus like, oh, I have to introduce myself and then fill out the form. So really excited to get that out. And kind of in that same vein of just simplifying, like making things feel a little cleaner and more intuitive. We've been making some like a various set of like visual polish types of changes. So you might notice the form builder feels a little cleaner. There's also like a set of work we have to just clean up the actual client experience on forms too. One of my pet peeves as a designer is like boxes within boxes within boxes, and we have some of that going on the form. So we'll be simplifying it a bit. No major changes to the UI or the experience at all, but like you might come in there and be like, oh, this feels a little nicer. And that's exactly what we're going for.
A little bit easier, a little bit more premium, right? Like that's awesome. And really exciting. I think that form experience is like the entry point for so many of your clients, right? And so making sure that it is not doesn't feel like they're putting in duplicative information, right? That it's like really a kind of unified flow. I think it's be great. It'll be fun next week when we can really bring that to life with a demo. Um, but we got some other feedback things that we've been doing, and so maybe just kind of quickly highlight one. When I was in Orlando for a conference in, I guess it was March, he was kind of talking to Walter, who's one of the kind of power users of Tern, and we were sort of commiserating over this like keyboard shortcut that like really threw us off, right? And I would do this on demos. I thought it was just me, and then I realized it wasn't just me, which is like if you add an itinerary, you enter in the name and then you click on enter, right? You'd sort of expect that to like just submit that page. But what it used to do is bring up Pixabay, which is like the image search. And you like had to select an image in order to like move on. And if you clicked out of it, it would close the whole thing. And it was just one of those like little focus things that's now fixed. So that's like a thing. So shout out Walter, and actually looks like Walter's wife is going to be very excited about that one. I'm really excited about it because I won't do that in demos. So thanks to the team for getting that updated. Those little tweaks really make a difference. And then Molly, there's at least one other thing that we wanted to talk about on kind of the responsiveness to feedback theme.
Yeah. So, well, first, just one thing with the form visual polish updates, like it's so interesting because like it's easy to kind of discount some of that continuous work around visual polish, but like when things don't feel consistent or things just feel too noisy or whatever, like that really adds up using a product. And I was going in to test the responder today, and I was just like, this is so much nicer. And it really does make a difference to continuously invest in those things. So really just appreciate, Brad, and I know you and Spencer pair on this a lot, just like really doing those things consistently because it does make a difference and it makes me happy. So shout out there. And then, yeah, we added another, this was a kind of a quick win. We heard from a few agencies that just for their process, when they export things like bookings, and like agent payouts, having a booking date in the export is just really essential for their process. So it was just one of those that was easy for us to like throw in, a few days after we heard the feedback and release it and really kind of wow those customers. We love slotting those things in. So definitely keep the feedback like that coming.
So cool. Um, Maybe switching gears now a little bit to kind of the looking ahead, what we're working on, a little bit of a longer term project, which I don't know if this will resonate with people. I don't think anyone's gonna be excited about this, but like we're gonna be like upgrading the text editor, right? Which I don't know that anybody's asked for that. Just kidding. It's like the number one thing that we hear all the time. But Brad, do you want to give an update on editor land?
Yes, and welcome to Editorland, everybody. We're here. Um, but yeah, like we wish it was one of those quick win types of things Molly just described, where we could just upgrade it and it would magically work. But actually, it's quite an investment, both to basically we're replacing what we have with something completely brand new. In that process, trying to address a lot of the like usability challenges folks have had with the current editor, which you might have talked about a little bit before, but things like having a consistent toolbar that's always there for your actions you can engage with, and making things like undo and redo more consistent. So there's a laundry list of things that's just like same general functionality, but make it work better. And we're pretty close to a lot of that being ready. We actually have a few advisors already using the new editor just in the notes section on trips and contacts. We're starting incredibly small. There's a lot of work to go from notes that's like only one view to all of the places where you can use the editor today, where the editor content actually is displayed to your clients, exportable in a PDF or in the mobile app. So more work to be done to bring it to the entire product. But one of the things we're doing right now is engaging with some advisors in what we're calling a closed beta. And this is really an opportunity for us to test with real content, because we know often with an editor, you might be pasting stuff in. You might have a specific format that like you're pulling from somewhere else and trying to get in that could break things in the editor. So it's hard for us to like test everything and say, yes, this is ready for everyone to be using. So we're opening it up to a small group. And the reason we're not doing like kind of an open invite for anyone to opt in is because it is possible that we actually like accidentally delete content in that process, or like it when we like translate what you had before into the new format, that like you lose something or something breaks and there's no way to revert back to the previous version of the editor. So we're keeping it really small until we're really confident that like those types of major issues won't come up. And then over time we'll explore like how we actually roll this out kind of to everyone. But really excited to at least have an initial version working in the product, already getting great feedback from folks, and we're getting close. I can't say like within the next couple of weeks, but like we are, yeah, I don't know, we're close.
It's
We're getting there. Coming soon.
it's fun like watching it in the Slack channel. Like, I think we've shared last week, we've got an engineer who like just specializes in editors, right? And like every week there's progress, and the few kind of notes I've seen from those early beta testers are just like all caps, like, oh my God, it's so much better, right? Like, and so I think it is really going to just be one of those things that once it goes live globally, it's just going to make Tern feel so much easier to use and like so much more like any of the other text editors that people are used to. And you think about how much of Tern is text, like it's a lot, right? The itinerary is all text, like a lot of text, right? Like a lot of the kind of entire experience, notes, CRM, the city guides, like it's all, kind of this like content where the editor is like such a big role. So very excited about that. And just to kind of emphasize what Brad said, the beta I'd say is like going pretty well so far, but there's always risk with this type of beta. We won't roll this out until we are extremely confident that it will not disrupt the existing content. Like that's the point of the beta. So I didn't want people to hear like, oh, like things could get deleted and think that might happen. Like if you're not in the beta, you've got nothing to worry about. By the time it turns on for you, like, the goal is that it is seamless, right? And that's why we're kind of crawling before we walk, before we run. So it's going to be huge. Molly.
Even if you are in the beta, we're doing a lot of thorough testing on our side too, with the goal of that not happening. There's just, a tiny risk. So like people who are very eager to beta test and kind of know the game of beta testing can lead to those things. But we have like a bunch of content we're testing on our side too before, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun looking at the test content because it's like every possible element. It's like bullet points and numbers and videos, and it's just like literally a note with everything. So it's fun to see that. All right, rapid fire. A couple other quick things of the week ahead. Going into next week, we've got a leadership offsite. This is sort of becoming a bit of a tradition that we're getting the team together at kind of the beginning of Q2. So we're bringing the leadership team together to really start to like zoom out and start to say like, what does Tern look like in 2027? Like, well, how do we set up 2026 to be really successful, and what are we doing over the next kind of 3 quarters to really get there? So that's going to be like, who are we hiring? What is our kind of, how are we really solidifying our culture? Like, how are we really kind of investing in these different pieces? So super excited to kind of have the team together and to kind of zooming out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. And it's one of those 3 days that will probably do more to define how Turn evolves over the next 12 to 36 months than kind of the normal day to day. So really excited for that. I think it's going to be really fun, and hopefully we'll have some things that we can share coming out of that. But Molly, you want to kind of talk about what else we have kind of on the radar next week?
Yeah, rapid fire. I know we're almost at time, so I won't go into the details. We'll talk about it on Friday, but we are upgrading the model we're using for City Guide, so that could improve some of the things that we're hearing for feedback. And then also we have some other exciting updates for actual like import of data that we can talk about more next week for AI Assist. So lots of fun AI work continuing next week.
And just because I can't help myself, so like the 2 sentences on that new model is like should be more creative, more kind of polished, even a little bit smarter, right? So like you should see some even better city guides coming your way sometime soon. And then Brad, you want to talk about another massive one that people are excited about?
Yeah, we're officially starting to write code to support invoicing officially in Turn. We've talked about this a little bit before, gathered a ton of feedback. Again, shout out to everyone who shared feedback along the way. And we'll have more next week and in the following weeks around that. But really excited to see that we are starting to officially make progress there.
So big. I talked to so many people at the kind of conference last week who are just like really excited for that, and we know this will be huge for Canadian agencies in particular who like we have these regulatory requirements, a lot of travel requirements. Like it's just going to be a big leap forward. So thank you all for tuning in to this week's Flight Path episode. Go ahead and click on that subscribe button so you get notified when these go live every Friday afternoon Eastern time. And we hope that you enjoyed the episode today. I hope you're learning about all the new things that are coming and that have launched, seeing some pro tips on image generation in ChatGPT. And if you enjoyed it, leave us a comment, click the like button, tell your friends. We will see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.